Hope we're all doing really well this Monday, the 13th of October. So I hope we're all doing extremely well. Today, let me know if in the chat where you're from, come and say hello. One of the things I do or we do on here very well is we have a conversation, we chat. I genuinely do tend to read out your chats as well. So just be careful. Whatever you say in the chat, I do tend to try to read out your chats. And very interactive show, even if I do say so myself. Now, Scott is in the chat already. Yes, I did, my friend. I will put a compilation together as soon as I have a second. I will put those together, and I will put them on the channel. And then let's see if we can start off some sort of competition. I'll do something for the winner. I don't know. Maybe we'll have a goal of the season. Andrew Edwards, hola senor. Hello, my friend. Now, let me know in the chat. One thing I'll say on here is that what I really tend to do is I do read out your chats. We talk about it. We discuss the news. Don't shoot the messenger. Some things I feel like I have to come on and talk about. We have to get into it. We discuss whether it's clickbait. We discuss all of that good stuff. So what are we talking about this morning? So some breaking news has just come out in the last hour or so. And again, we can discuss all this stuff. What is the best in your opinion, JB, and what's good? I do like the Isak goal, the ball over the top and then a straight smash into over the keeper. But I'll put it all in and then I'll give my opinion on it, Scott, as well. So breaking news, and this is going. So this was broken apparently. Well, this was broken by Indicator. Whether or not I respect them and their opinions, which I think you can take them with a pinch of salt. But now this is going full ball across the media. Do you own Bitcoin? No, I don't own Bitcoin. And no, I'm not going to give you my code, even if I did. I don't want your code either. So no, I don't own Bitcoin. So Indicator, cool. I will pop them on the channel, my friend, and let's see what happens. Hopefully we can start some sort of FC 26 club. Give me your goals, give me your best bits, and I will stick them on the channel. So Indicator news, that sort of was the source this morning. I had heard some rumblings yesterday that something was going to happen today. Again, based on my opinion as well, the fact that something has to happen this week. They have to either dispel or come out. And now this has been picked up by a load of other news outlets today. So the news and the rhetoric today is that United are going to meet a UAE Consortium today at 1 p.m. The timing exactly, Scott. Again, as much as I am not a fan of them, I think they've got most things wrong. And again, this is what we're doing here. We're going to discuss the news, discuss what we think, give me your opinions in as to. I think there are three strands and there are three opinions on this. One, it's a load of nonsense. Two, it is a ploy by the Glazers to get some investment into the club. Exactly, there is nothing from Ben. So when Ben comes on and says stuff, we listen. And also the third strand of this, or the third opinion on this, is that this is real. So we do have to discuss this. I think this is a big thing this morning because people are going to see this, and I think it's our job on here as a community to sort of discuss what we think about it. So as Indicator, and it's not just them now, there are a load of bunch. I don't know. Look, if you spam, you are going to get removed. Fuzzen says, hi, where are you from? I'm from the UK. I get asked where I'm from. I get asked if I'm Irish. I get asked if I'm American. I get asked all sorts on here. So get in your opinions. I want to hear your opinions on this today. I want to hear what you think. Do you believe that there's a consortium today? So the consortium is a UAE consortium. Now, this is not to be confused, which I've looked at, and this is not to be confused with, hi, I'm from Indonesia, welcome. So this is not to be confused with Saudi. So Saudi are completely different. This will be a completely different bid. Don't worry, United will be in the Premier League next season. I'm not worried at all. I never have been. I will believe it when Ben will. Yeah. Now Ornstein, Scott. I think for me, Ornstein is the mouthpiece of the club, right? So I semi agree. But Ornstein and Romano are more round about that transfer stuff. So look, Ornstein is a good guy. Now Ben. So Jacobs Ben on X. So Ben is a good guy. He's always on the United Stand, the Talk Sport, and all that kind of stuff. Now he is very, very close to Saudi, Qatar. He's very, very good. Ben is one of those guys who I think he's come up over the last 2 years, and comes across as a very articulate, very intelligent guy. So I would always listen to him, and I think he's very, very close on this. Now, I did see some stuff from him last week, not to rule this out. So I think if he comes out and he validates this, but the thing about him is that he's very, very good at kind of waiting, keeps his cards close to his chest. Oh, you're a United fan? Yes, I am. Ben and his magic ball, exactly. And I will be fair to Ben as well. When we were talking, or when this original sell, he was very much the voice of reason. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Now, I am of the opinion that something has to happen. So I've been looking at the share price over the last 2 days. There's nothing really at the moment that's really lifted that today. Now, whether or not that changes at some point today. So there's been a 3% increase in that, so that's nothing to write home about. But if there is a sale, if there is a potential sale, and the Glazers are looking to sell this club, this will have to be, what's your reason for United? No disrespect, I don't need to give you a reason. I don't need to answer that question. I'm a fan. Look, I'm not going to disrespect you, but I don't need to answer that question. Anyway, so UAE, we need to separate that out. So there's a UAE that's your opinion. So I mean, I need you to give me more than that. Instead of saying that it's a stupid club, you need to give more than that. And Scott, yeah. Exactly. Scotty's on it. The man, the myth, the legend is on it already this morning. So if you have just joined, breaking news, we've done Shoot the Messenger, whether you believe it or not, and this is what we're going to get on. And again, let's talk about what we think. Let's use the logic as to why we think this would be happening now. Why is this coming out now? I've got my opinions on this one. Do I think it's crap? No. Do I think that United are going to meet a consortium today? Possibly. Why would Indicator have a exclusive on this? I don't know. They've been wrong multiple times. They if you look on X, and I'm going to be brutally honest here, if you look on X, they reckon that they've broken the Belieber stuff, and they've been right on the Belieber stuff, and they've been right on. They haven't. Absolute horseshit. So this could be filed under another nonsense. Where am I from? I'm from the UK, my friend. Yeah, I'm from UK. Let's just put it that way. So I do. I think Kobe's going to take the number 8 next season, and we can talk about that as well. No, I don't. I think that we're on a precipice. Why poor countries people want to come to the UK? This is Waleed. This is not the show. for that. No interest in that today. So, do I think that Manu is going to take? How do they register? How do they register your kind in the UK? You need to give me more context on that, my friend. Fundamental. How do they register your kind in the UK? You need to be more clear. Fundamental. Have a backbone and just say what you mean, because that could mean anything. So I think I know what you're trying to say, fundamental. So I would say be careful, because I can quite easily look at who you are and report it. So be very careful. Be very careful. Johan, hello. I hope you're doing extremely well from South Africa. So I hope you are extremely well today. Now, one of the things I will say that I will do on here is be careful what you say, because I will read out the chats. I won't read them all out, but I do look at the chats. Hence, that's why this takes so long, because I respect your opinion, and I am going to ask. Look, if you don't like the channel and you fancy a little bit of troll, just it's not gonna fly. So if you troll, you're going to be gone. You're wasting your time. Just what's the point? What's the point? Thunder, how do they let you under the bridge? I love it. Mate, you really don't have to answer everything else that's not related to football. These guys are setting a trap. Space Cadet, look, they're not setting a trap. I look through the chat. I get it. And I absolutely thank you, my friend. They're trying to set a trap. I really couldn't care less. I will answer stuff because this is what we do on here. And I know it can be frustrating for people who want to just listen to the news, but we do something different on here. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to answer that question. So UAE, at the end of the day, shampers. Michael, you're getting all the you're getting all the trolls on here today. Michael Dyer. You just expose yourself, don't you? So UAE. So let's not. So when we're talking about this, right? There needs to be a acknowledgement that that basically there is a difference between the UAE and a difference between Saudi. So UAE, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and another 3 or 4, which I'm not going to try to pronounce because I will butcher them, and I have too much respect to butcher those federations' names. So Abu Dhabi is city. So more than likely, is it Dubai to get today? Now there is a consortium that how you spread that out, I don't know. Now my logical opinion would be, is it Dubai back in again to buy the club? Now aside from that, there is apparently a Saudi bid as well. So what we're talking about here is that, is this a case of now there is a bidding war between Saudi, Dubai, potentially? What is that bidding war? JB is 1,000 years old. He's a wise monk from Nepal. Exactly that. Can't you tell? So do I think there's a meeting today? And that is the question. You give me your opinions on this. Do we think that there is a meeting going on today? I don't know. I think there's probably something happening. It's probably an embellishment on there's a consortium meeting coming in. Are the Glazers here? I don't know. I would take this with a pinch of salt. Now, do I think that there is potentially going to be sales? So let's logically look at this. JB and his magical staff that we all know about, the third leg, my friend. You can call it whatever you like about the staff, my friend. So do I think that there is a potential for sale? Yes, but I'll give you my opinion. You give me yours. So I think that this is about investment. Now, if you cast your mind back to the summer, And the Glazers were here, there, and everywhere. Dubai, they were America, trying to seek investment. Now, I don't understand. Oh, I do. Oh, no, Steve Jobs. Ah, I love it. I love it. Anyway, so the Glazers are seeking investment. Now, has it come to a point whereby we've got to think about this, right? Is that if you look at the results, so there are two main factors for me here. Okay, number one is the regeneration project. Okay, that I think that is so pivotal to this. Secondly, the accounts. So if you look at the accounts that were published, despite record income, £668 million, home revenue from the games at home, record as well, but yet we still made a £33 million loss. You then have to look at what exactly that we're doing with the club. We're cutting costs left, right, and centre. We're giving Harry Maguire a new contract. Whether you look at that or not, I think again that is about cost. Apparently, he's going to take a 70,000 pay cut in his wages to stay at the club, despite there being £500,000 a week, I believe, from Saudi as well. He wants to turn that down to stay here. You can read into that all you like. I think that is about cost. I think that is about not wanting to spend money on the team again. So, a 33-year-old Maguire would be seen as would he be seen as a coup? Would he be seen as a plaster? Scott says, I think they don't have the money to buy the land next to this where they're looking for investment, but if they can't get the said investment, they will sell up. And I think, Scott, ultimately, my friend, I think that is it. I think you're right. If you look at the accounts and what it is the football side are trying to do, I think that the Glazers know they've bitten off more. I think the Glazers know that INEOS have bitten off more than they can chew. I think that maybe, such as managers before and players, INEOS, I think, have promised to do something. I think ultimately this is why they put in the dragon clause. I think this is why they put in that clause that £33 per share, is because I think that this was a tester. Let's see if we can do something to turn this club around. And I think Scott is ultimately correct, is that this is what this has all been about from the very, very beginning. It's about this is about how quickly can they get this stadium built? How quickly can they get this land, and how quickly can they get this built? Because as much as we will get frustrated with it taking 6, 7, 8 years, the Glazers and Sir Jim, who also got to factor in, Sir Jim is not a young man. Another 8 years' time, I'm sure Sir Jim will be around, but he can't afford to wait that long. The Glazers can't afford to wait that long either. So I think Scott is absolutely right. I think this boils down to, the realisation, and also the fact is we have to think about next year. Are we realistically going to get into the Champions League? Probably not. I've always said this. The INEOS and the Glazers' plan was to basically just stick a plaster on this team just to try to get to 4th place, even if it's try to get European every single season without spending money on this squad. And I think they are realising very, very quickly that can't happen. Next season, European football, if there isn't any, which I think there's a very, very good chance. I think there's a very, very, very good chance that won't happen. That means there's less home games. That means there's less money. So the projected revenue for next season, I think, will be a lot less. And if it is less, then what do? So I think that this is I think Scott is right. I think this is about, if they cannot get the investment, and I truly believe that the Glazers want investment, but I don't think there's anybody stupid enough, because if you think about this, they need somebody, and as Scott said there is a freight line there that they need to basically buy. They're not stupid. I think it's valued at 50 million, but they're going to want more than that. They can name their price. They can name their price. So, and I think that is a stumbling block. So if that takes 3-4 years to move them, then that puts this whole plan to shame, because I think they want to get it done within 5 years. I just don't think it's going to happen. So I think right now there are many factors here. So I do think that the Glazers are looking for investment, and I don't think they're going to find it. I think that I think that Dubai, I think that UAE, depending on what the consortium is, Saudi, I think that they've seen an opportunity. I think they've seen the accounts. I think they've been biding their time. I think that if they are going to do it, I'm still of the opinion that this is about investment. I'm still of the opinion that they want Saudi to come in, build the stadium, even if they, the Saudis take a big percentage. I think, as somebody said on here as well, the Glazers don't want to give it up. There'll be a silent partner just to make some money out of it. But let's see. Premier League 200, Amrin will be sacked if the takeover happens. I don't disagree with you. I think if the takeover happens, I think Amrin loses his job. I don't disagree with you. I think that Saudis will go and try and get the best that they can. I think Saudi, or whoever it is, Saudi, Dubai, will go and basically go and get the best coach they can. They'll go and get the best players. They'll go and get the best coach. And I think that you're right. I think Amrin will be sacked. I think that Amrin right now is like a sticking plaster. I think this whole team right now has been held together by hopes and dreams and a plaster. I absolutely do not think that right now this is best in class. Is Amrin best in class? No, I don't think he is. Is Amrin the potential future? Could Amrin do something here? I believe he could. But is he right now best in class? No, he's not. So I think you're right. I think Amrin will be sacked. Lightower says United should not be talking about European football until 2030. I disagree. I think United should demand European football every season. You can't just stop talking about something because you deem it so. Who's to say we can't finish sixth this season? Who's to say we can't finish, like horribly? So if you have just joined, breaking news is that United apparently are meeting a consortium from the UAE today at 1 o'clock. This has come from Indicator News. And again, whether you believe that or not, I'm just reporting the news, and I think it's really important that we discuss this again today to discuss how valid it is as well. Now, we know it's not going to be Abu Dhabi because that's Manchester City. It could be Dubai. So this I think this is more than likely in terms of if all of the federation, I think, states of Saudi, probably Dubai is the most likely one of those. Scott says, how can they expect this team to get into Europe when they don't get players the manager wants? I agree. Funko Pop says, hi. Why investment? They should be selling. Look, Lionel, I agree. But what you've got to understand is you have to know your enemy, right? The Glazers, you have to understand that they are about money. What you've got to understand is that if the Glazers can get someone else to pay for their stuff, they will do. They're that person when you go into a pub with your mates, whenever it's their round, they disappear. Right? That is what they do. They do not want to invest their own money. And this is what it baffles me when people support the Glazers, is they don't want to spend their money. If you are a billionaire, you don't spend your own money. You make your money off of assets. You make your money off of other people to become a billionaire. And this is what the Glazers do. They want investment because they don't want to sell. Why would you want to sell this club? It makes them too much money every single year. but they may be forced into a position whereby they can't afford it, and there's nothing more that INEOS could do. I've always said this, and if you go back over time, the videos are there. I've said that the way that the Glazers go is if this regeneration doesn't happen, then they'll go. And I think this is what the major thing is here now, is will this investment happen? So will this investment happen? And that, I think, is ultimately is the question here. And I think that is when we find that out, I think that is when we are going to know if this club is for sale or not. Scott says the land could only be worth 50 to 60, but they don't have to sell to anyone, and Sir Jim and the Glazers want the land, and the freight company can just ask for whatever they want. And this is exactly it, Scott. If you know, right, if you bought land and it's worth 60 million, and you know the regeneration project around it is going to be worth a couple of £billion, just like the Glazers have done, they buy something and then they have an extortionate price. It's nice to see that someone else is doing to the Glazers what the Glazers have done to everybody else their whole life. Maybe the Glazers lose this battle, and I really hope they do. You look at Sir Jim. I have no sympathy for Sir Jim at all, and I hope this blindsides him. I do hope the Glazers sell this club from underneath his nose, because then that will teach him. Don't get involved. When you've got rats at the club and they infest this club, and you try to come in and you get rid of those rats, and you're one person and you've got 1 million rats in there, don't get involved. Burn the whole thing down to the ground and start again. And Sir Jim decided to get involved, and I have no sympathy whatsoever. John McQueen says won't happen. Glazers earn far too much to sell. And again, John, I think my friend, that is an excellent point to raise, and I'm sort of with you at the moment. So based on historic, logical mindset of what we've seen with the Glazers, I think that this is investment. And do I think this meeting will happen today? Possibly, right? But I do think that the aim of this is to get investment. And I'm hoping that the consortium from UAE will hold strong and say, no, we don't want you involved in this club at all. We want to own this club. And I think that they hold all of the cards here. I think that they know. They absolutely know the Glazers have. And John, you're right. But the problem here is that eventually there's no more money to make. Like, we are in debt, right? We made £668 million. We won't be making that next year. We don't have the home games this year. There's only so many brand deals that you can get. We finished 15th last season. European money, we don't have that. We still have the debt. So it comes to a point where, yes, you made money in the past, but when you keep stripping away at an asset, or when you keep stripping away, let's just say, you've got a well and you've got water in that well, and all you keep doing is taking the water. You don't replenish the water. You keep taking the water. Eventually, you're going to strip it down, and there's nothing left. The only value now that the Glazers have is basically the value and the asset of the club. I don't see how they make more money. Yes, you can argue, that they'll basically take money out of the club, but there's no money to take. There's no profit to take. You can only take money from a club, and let's just say they do. Let's just say they pay themselves £30 million this year. Then that's going to increase the debt. So there is nothing for them to take. Yes, I agree they are asset rich in terms of this club, but there's nothing for them to take. They have run this well dry. They have basically got us to a point where they've maxed out what they can do, and there's no more money to come in. In fact, I'll argue there'll be less money next season, less European games. Going to Dubai or Saudi to play extra games, you're not going to make as much as the Champions League. You're going to make what, £10 million? It's nothing. This squad needs investment. What are they going to do? We have a credit facility in place, but that's just debt. So I believe the focus of this is investment. I believe that the Glazers are cheeky enough to ask somebody to pay for the stadium. But I think, as Scott says, if they cannot find that investment, if they cannot find a mug, I do believe that there's possibly some sort of meeting today. But absolutely do believe that they're seeking investment. So my number one thing will be, look, I would try to brace yourselves for the fact that, one, nothing might happen now. Okay. Two, I think investment. That is what I really, really believe. So I think that if you're going to hear something, I think initially it could be the investment, or best case, it's a complete sale. So I think I would brace yourselves for investment. Not going to be happy. You can have a situation where you have a triple threat of Glazers backed by INEOS, the football side, backed by a consortium. And if that happens, and click this up, if that happens, if you have investment from basically a state, the Glazers in charge, and INEOS, you will not get rid of any of these for decades and decades. So I think the worst thing, and we're talking about frying pan and fire, there could be a situation whereby they meet today and this consortium gives the Glazers the investment that they need. The Glazers will be here for decades. Their children's children will be here because, as you say, they'll make too much money. So if you have just joined, breaking news is that today at 1 o'clock, and we'll soon see by the end of the day that United are going to meet a consortium from the UAE today. Now, there could be some sort of bidding war here between Saudi. There is reports that Saudi are interested as well. The two things are completely separate. We know that it's not going to be Abu Dhabi because they are with City. There are another federation of states. You've got Dubai, Sharjah. I mean, I'm not even going to try to pronounce these names, but I think Dubai's back in. I really, really do. So I think, watch this. 1 o'clock is in an hour and a half. So we'll see it very, very quickly. Frugal Boy says, good day, JB. Good day. Tulip Play. Hi, JB. Hello. Glinios out. I completely agree. All the Glazers won't sell up. They will sell the same amount of stocks and shares what Sir Jim owns, so they will still make money while putting their hand in their own pockets. Exactly. Nothing, Guy. Hello, JB. Nikarutsu. Hello, my friend. I'm very well. Lately, I have a lot of pressure on my studies in university. Look, nothing, Guy. Doesn't matter, my friend. You don't need to join. I know who you are, legend of this chat. University comes first. 100%. Look, 100% comes first. Make sure that you do that. It's really, really important. It's more important than listening to some guy talk about this club. If it helps you try to get through your exams and this community, look, do it. But as you say, the most important thing is getting your exams done and get it done. Mank United says, had a season ticket for 45 years of it, sick of it. Look, Mank United, welcome. Lifeblood of the club, massive respect. I've always had massive respect for you, for the people that go to games. You are the lifeblood. You pay your money every season. 45 years of it. Now, I'd like to ask you your opinion on it. Give me your opinion. What do you think? Do you think this is investment? Do you think that this is a sale? I'd love to know your opinion on it. I'd love to know your opinion on the manager. I'd love to know your opinion on the state of the ground. Look, just give me your opinion. Tell me what you think is wrong with the club. Tell me if you're hoping that this is a full sell as well, because I would really, really love to know. Nicola says, I'm not expecting anything to happen. Glazers are simply testing the waters to see what they can get. I think you make a good point. I can feel, improving. Liverpool fan 123. Hello, my friend. Welcome here. This is a United channel, but as I'll always say on here, we have some amazing rival fans on this channel as well. So keep them coming. Yeah, we're not getting into that. Okay, so who's meeting the Glazers UAE? Yes. So apparently today, so breaking news if you haven't heard, is that apparently that today that United are going to meet a consortium from the UAE today. Sorry guys, just had a message. That basically it's a consortium from the UAE. So we know that is not Abu Dhabi, because they are city. Obviously, Saudi are a separate thing as well. So Dubai, I think it's Dubai. I do. I think if anyone's now to go back to the comment, Nathan. Morning, JB. Good morning, my friend. Hope you're doing extremely well. I think when we're looking at this, and I think there was a really, really good point made as well from Nicaruzzo, is that there's this clause in 2027, Jim Ratcliffe's guaranteed share price expires, right? So what that basically means is that he's not guaranteed to get £33 per share. Are the Glazers testing the water for that as well? Are they trying to get maximum value now, because they know in 2027 they're not going to get that? Let's factor in Sir Jim here. Sir Jim is a businessman. Now I don't know Sir Jim. At the end of the day, I don't know Sir Jim. I'm sure he's a lovely fella. Look, whenever I've watched him, he always seems like a pretty fair guy. He seems like a pretty fair guy, right? But he is a businessman as well. He is absolutely not going to stay at this club if he knows it's done. Is he going to take his money and walk? And is this a fact that Sir Jim also, as much as he might be blindsided on this deal, will he walk? Now, for those of you who are Sir Jim pro, now I don't judge. Like I'm not the sort of person on here who's, if you are Glazers in, I can't stand you, or if you're like the Glazers out and all that sort of stuff. Look, everybody has an opinion, right? And I think that's really, really important for people to have an opinion on here. I think it's really, really super important for that to happen. But for those of you who are pro Sir Jim, which is absolutely fine, this is now where you are going to find out what Sir Jim is about. Is Sir Jim really the local lad that everyone says, and he's here to buy the club and save the club? If that happens, hats off to Sir Jim. Hats off. I will say that you, Sir Jim Inners, are right. I will happily say you Sir Jimmers, are completely right. I'm being right. Hold on. I have no problem with that. You're going to see. You're going to quickly find out what Sir Jim is all about. Someone sent me a message. Anyway, somebody just sent me something. So let's get through the chat. My uncle Paul had a season ticket for 20 plus years. He stopped buying them and got them for our local team. Haaland might not be a better player than Mbappe. He's a prolific goal scorer. Down those goals numbers, I'd say. JB, do you think Haaland, if he stays at City for a decade, will surpass all goal numbers? I think he will surpass Premier League numbers. Haaland, whatever people think about Haaland is a specialist. Haaland doesn't pretend to be anything else other than a striker. And if you're talking about like an all-round best player, right? Was Henry a better player than Haaland? Yes. Are there better players? I'd argue that Harry Kane is a better player, but Haaland is Haaland is that if you want to put the ball in the back of the net and you want somebody who's going to score goals, he's world class. If he stays for his career in this league, he will obliterate the record. Obviously, depending on who's at City and where he plays, Haaland will absolutely be the star of the show. Now, if you have just joined again, breaking news. Well, it's not so much now because it's been out for an hour and a half. Is that United today are going to meet a consortium from the UAE, not to be confused with Saudi. This is something that I'm learning as well. UAE, federation of different kingdoms or states. And I think the most likely one of those, I think there's 7 or 8, is basically Dubai. Abu Dhabi are City, and I genuinely believe that this is Dubai back in again. Now, sorry guys, keep checking. So, what do you think about that? Let me know in your opinions. Scott says, I don't trust Jim. He's got a season ticket for Chelsea and wanted to buy them first. I agree. DJ Superfly says, I hope it's true. The Nothing Guy, by the way, United are selling for 5.2 billion, which is more than the current value of the club. They're going to only accept that if there's a huge check involved. Nothing Guy, agree completely. Sammy says, I strongly believe Bruno Fernandes is the problem for United. Sammy, look, I agree that Bruno Fernandes is a problem, but if you watch this channel, I recommend you do, not just for me, because this community is amazing, right? Is that I want Bruno Fernandes out of this club. Do I think that Bruno is the sole reason why we are bad? No. I fully accept that Bruno Fernandes has been a brilliant servant for this club. I'd even argue he's still our best player, but the detrimental impact of him on this club is advanced. He's petulant, he moans, he whinges, he's not a captain. Now, conversely to that, if you basically have somebody offering you £100 million for a 31-year-old midfielder, I would take it. Now, people will be saying, oh, how are you going to replace him? You don't replace Fernandes. You do something different. So, look, ultimately, the Glazers are the problem. INEOS are the problem, and the problems at the club are not going to be solved. This is in my opinion. Doesn't mean that I'm right. You guys get your opinions in on this as well. They are the problem. I think the players and the manager are secondary problems. They are the business, right? They are the forefront of the business. But that's going to continue to be like that, inconsistent, when you've got toxicity. What is this news going to do for the club now? Again, this is going to unstabilize, or destabilize the club. It's going to be horrific. So whilst I agree with you, I believe that Fernandes is a problem. I don't think he is the main problem, and I don't think you're saying that either. I do agree that Fernandes is a problem. If a huge powerhouse is involved, this City level of money, it's going to change United forever and can't wait. Martin says, maybe Jim's plan was only sensible of buying 27%. It was probably the only chance of getting control of the Glazers. Maybe it's pie in the sky that with these idiots might. I've got no problem with Sir Jim buying the club. Look, if Sir Jim is a true fan, I've got no problem with Sir Jim buying the club. I'm proving people like me wrong, who's of this opinion that Sir Jim is only here to profit from this club, to back the Glazers for the regeneration and to make money. That is the only reason, in my opinion, that he's here. Prove me wrong. Like, he doesn't need to prove me wrong. It literally is just my opinion, right? Look, if he comes in, clears the debt, because someone's going to have to clear that debt, happily accept Sir Jim and be Sir Jim is the guy. He's come in, he's saved the club. Sir Jim's going to have to prove it. Sell more shares. It's 5.7, not 5.2. Small wages, even if we get shares, start to get sold to UAE. Yeah, the problem is not a leader, and he's able not to adapt to the system. Bruno is not a leader, I agree. Mbeumo is our best player along with Cunha. Bruno is terrible. Look, I don't disagree that Bruno. I would argue, or some people would, and you can still argue that Bruno is one of the better players or the best players. I do agree with Scott. I think for 2 years he's been awful. I think for 2 years Bruno's been absolutely just bad. Is it all in his fault? No, it's not. But we do have to accept that for 2 years, my eyes don't lie, Bruno is a stat padder. You know, I fully accept that Bruno has contributed vastly to this team. I'm sure Bruno is an absolute wonderful person, but I'm done with Bruno. I'm done. I absolutely want him gone, and I think will we suffer in the short term, possibly, because he's so intrinsic in this club. He's the epitome at the moment of player power. But yeah, so if you have just joined, I'm going to say this again, mention again. Breaking news: United are going to meet a consortium of UAE representatives today to discuss something. Whether this is a full sale, whether this is an exploratory investment, an exploratory sale, we're going to find out very, very, very quickly. I'm giving United, you're giving the manager advice. What players get Hayden, Heaven, Lenny Yoro, and Delic? Now, I'll caveat from the sale for a second. Now, there is news, and we reported on this last night, that Harry Maguire is going to get a new deal. Okay, so apparently the deal is £120,000 a week, 70k less than what he's getting paid at this present moment in time. Okay, now people will say, oh, you know, that's great, you know, experience. But what people are failing to realise, and Lucky is absolutely right here, Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire are going to stunt the growth of youth players. Aiden Heaven, Yoro, those two players are going to take a back seat because Harry Maguire, because this club is so cheap, this club is so cheap, and they know they absolutely know that they're not going to be able to do all the things that Amarin needs to do. And that is what's going to happen. So right now, I'm buoyed by the fact that there will be some sort of investment, or buoyed by the fact that there will be some sort of sale, because the alternative right now is absolutely terrifying. We can have a situation where Yoro's going to want to leave next season because he's not playing. Luke Shaw will still be playing next season. Like, imagine next season we're going to have Maguire, Luke Shaw, Delo, Fernandez possibly all still here. I mean, that's horrific. So I as much as I don't want to believe it, and I'm a skeptic, we need this because next season is going to be horrific. Sammy says Bruno is not captain material. Manu is highly underrated. Casemiro is highly trusted for no reason. Sammy, I agree with you. Sammy, I agree with you on this one. Bobby says hello all. Hello Bobby. The guy is successful businessman. Look, there is no doubt. Like that. Look, I might question Sir Jim's football knowledge, right? I question the business in terms of running this as a business. But absolutely, there is no question in my mind. Sir Jim knows more about business than me. Sir Jim is a very articulate, intelligent man. Because at the end of the day, I made my money in petrochemicals. I mean, look, Sir Jim, you don't become a sir and you don't become a billionaire. Like hats off to him. I don't know the guy, but in terms of football and what he's done to this club, I can't stand it. I can't stand it. He's a local lad who's invested and allowed people and contributed to the downfall of this club. And there has to be a separation between business, Sir Jim, and the person, and the actions of what he's done to this club. Lucky Singh says, Lewis Hamilton by partnership with Sir Jim. Absolutely not. What does Lewis Hamilton know about running a football club? Lucky, mate, Lucky, full respect you, Lucky, but sometimes your opinions, they scare me. They really do. Bobby says we need all money to compete. I think we can compete with the debt gone. I think we can be more competitive. But Bobby, you're right. If we want to be competitive in terms of the way that the world is going, do we need the old money? Yeah, because we need that money because we need to clear house. We need to clear the debts, and the only way that we purchase this club is by spending billions and billions of pounds on it. Gorma says, hi, hello, my friend. Jim Ratcliffe, manager. Yeah. Harry Maguire, mum and dad are Irish. Could have done with Maguire, Rice, Grealish in the same team. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Maguire is a United fan as well. Hence, that's why he's turned down £500,000 a week to go to Saudi. Leewood, Ratcliffe, and the Glazers both need to get out. Leewood, agree with you completely. Full sale. INEOS and Glazers out. DJ, Superfly guy, with the problems down, yeah, I'm sure it's the right move. Now I think about it, just allows success. I'm sorry if the UAE doesn't have extremists. Look, mate, I'm not going to get into all that. You're valid to have your opinion on that, but in terms of UAE, I don't really see how that impacts the UK, like the people, in terms of, look, you won't suddenly have this influx of, different people because they suddenly own a club. In 10 years, Cristiano could buy the club if he wanted to. I mean, I don't think he could, mate. I think Cristiano could possibly put a consortium together, but by that time, is Cristiano going to be worth more than 9 billion? Look, I don't think Cristiano is as much of a fan of this club as you think he is. Does he support the club? I don't know. I don't think this is a club close to Cristiano's heart. Just in terms of, if he was going to buy a club, would he buy this club? I don't know. You look at Roy Keane. Would Roy Keane, would he played for this club, give everything for this club, but he's not a fan. So I question whether Ronaldo, as much as he is a legend, would he buy this club? I don't know. If you have just joined, breaking news, or not really now, is that United are apparently going to meet a UAE Consortium today in London. Martin says, if took Man City to 5 years to win the league, it did. But I think the reason why it took that long was because you have to think about where City were and the players that they had. Do I think that... I think we probably have the equivalent of... Remember when City kind of had that half-assed team when you had Benjani, Robinho, they bought... when they sort of bought all those sorts of players in, I think we've got the equivalent of that team. I think addition-wise, I think if you bring in 4 or 5 decent players, I think that we could win the league or start to push for the league very, very quickly. Murray says, stop talking about United. No. I'm with Scott. Murray, fuck off, you bellend. Yeah. Grace says, I'm buying the club, guys. 343 stays... Average stays forever. Grace, legend of the chat. Glazers have been good for United. Spent lots of money on transfers. Murray, I love people like Murray who come on here and expose themselves. Not spending any time on you, Murray. Lee Wood, Ratcliffe and the Glazers are both money grabbers. They are intended to put season tickets up again after saying there wasn't. They're a joke. I've had an email from United ticketing the other day. Lee Wood, mate. I mean, it's disgusting. And also, Lee, there is a hypothetical sort of thing out there whereby the new stadium, you also going to need to pay a premium just to like an annual fee to even get your seat. And I know they do it in the States and Tampa Bay. I think the cheapest one's about 13,000. So Lee, as a United match day fan, mate, again, massive respect. And I think attacking you guys is a fucking disgrace. It is an absolute disgrace. And I think Lee, there's more to come. I think it is disgraceful. Murray is let's not spend too much time on Murray, because Murray is what do you think about I don't know. Good luck for the buy and get those toe rags out. Wayne, legend of the chat. Wayne is the epitome of a rival fan from the biggest club. But Wayne is absolute legend. He's the epitome of he's an example of a rival fan. Wayne is a legend, and you know, we do appreciate you, Wayne. Murray says, I'm a United fan. Could have fooled me, mate. Could have fooled me. Murray, look, I respect people's opinions on the Glazers, right? I'm not going to say to you that just because you're a Glazer inner, Beefcake says you're the best. Beefcake legend, mate. I am a mere human being. Murray, not all fans hate the Glazers. I think you probably find a huge, significant amount of people do. But Murray, look, what I'm going to say, and as you brought that up, I think it's only fair to say, in terms of, because we're talking about a sale, Murray, if you support a regime, and when you're talking about spending money, Murray, they've not spent a single penny on this club. If you're a deluded fan who thinks that, the money we've spent on this club is our money that we've earned. You look at Chelsea, City, the owners have invested money, their own money, into the club. The Glazers have never spent a penny of their own money even buying the club. Do you understand what that means? They've bought the club on leveraged debt. They've never paid it off, therefore meaning they've never actually bought the club. The club service their debt. So what it means, the money that we earn, not the money the Glazers have put in. They're not spending their money. They're spending our money. They're spending the club's money from our shirt sales, from match-going fans. The match-going fans on here, their hard-earned cash going to games. The Glazers have never put a penny of their own money in to this club. If you're a fan, also imagine somebody buying your house and then letting it rot. They've also come into this club and let the stadium rot. They basically repaired it once or twice, put as little money as possible into this club. The damage to the stadium is so vast that it's cheaper for them to knock the stadium down and build a new one. So they've not put a penny of their own club. They spend our money. They've drained the well dry. They've taken money out of the club, not only to service their own debt, but to pay themselves money as well. If you're happy with that, I feel sorry for you. But if you're happy with that, good luck to you, my friend. All United fans despise the Glazers. I agree. Murray. 9% I think of supporters do hate the Glazers. I agree with you, Wayne. So yeah, guys, so if you have just joined, the last thing I'll say on this, keep our eyes open for today. Apparently 1 o'clock today, United are going to meet a consortium from UAE today, so not Saudi. Saudi are not part of this. If they were to meet Saudi, that would be a completely different meeting as well. So I think where we are, I think I said there were 3 options. I think one of the comments on here, I think made a very, very, very good point. I got CR7 2008 finals kit, legend. Why don't you blame the United fans who continue to give the club money? Surely they are the real problem. Oh, Murray. Good content, nice one. Thank you, Idio. Chat, you can deal with Murray. So I said originally that I thought that there was 3 strands to this. I actually now think there's 4. I think somebody made a really good point in here. Number 1, this is a load of nonsense. Number 2, what the Glazers are actually could be doing is actually putting feelers into the market. This is not good for English sports. Look, Jet, I mean, that's a very valid point. That's a very valid point that I can't argue. Murray's dealing with himself, no need to. Exactly. I think secondly, I think the Glazers could be putting feelers out there, potentially for the 2027, sort of sell, because then Sir Jim loses his £33 per politicians didn't the politicians didn't block anything, mate. Politicians can be bought, and politicians didn't block anything. That's really funny, Murray, because the Saudis, whose human rights are diabolical, are being condemned, but yet they still bought a club. So Murray, talking out of your arse, mate. Could be they're putting the feelers out, and then maybe Sir Jim will push this. I'm of the opinion here that this is a ploy to get investment, to get Saudi to come in to build the stadium. They can own the stadium rights. Maybe the Glazers take a percentage. Maybe they need money to buy out the freight line. Look, they could just want to say, look, we will give you shares. You guys can have the controlling shares, but we're still going to take a big percentage. I think it's investment, or it could be a full sale. I have to accept, if you look at the figures and for next year and the figures for this year, it is not looking good. I think INEOS and the Glazers try to pull something together to try to. What I also believe is, I think that they thought that they could shoestring this team to get the stadium built. I truly believe that they thought that they could walk this stadium through and they would just get pushed through. I think there is so much red tape here that INEOS and the Glazers might be thinking, look, let's just take our money and run. Let's just make profit now. Let's just let someone else deal with the shit, because we've got stadiums, there's so much that needs to be done that the Glazers have no money to put into this club. INEOS don't have that fund, and they're not going to, because why would they? Somebody needs to come in and clear this debt. So I think we're going to know very quickly. Super Battle says, Glazers just bamboozled Sir Jim and INEOS. Sir Jim must feel devastated. I have no sympathy for him, and I agree. If you get in bed with Sir Jim, if you get in bed with if you get in bed with the Glazers, then you better bag up, because you're going to catch something. And I think Sir Jim has caught something bad. Murray, do you have? Yeah, Murray's a. Yeah. Saudis can't buy everything, or English culture will be lost. Look, Jet, I mean, look, whilst I agree the Saudis can't buy everything, but we're not talking Saudis here, by the way. We're talking UAE. So that's different, right, from Saudi. So, look, we don't make the rules up in this country. Okay? This country is as pushed beyond what any of us can do. There's nothing to do with us, right? I explained yesterday my perfect ownership model. What's going to happen is going to happen. Look, our culture, I'm not going to get into that because I do have my opinions on it. I do think you've got a slight point, but that's for a different show. KH Manu Jr. says, hi. Wayne says, better steps forward than steps back. I agree. The Mick 96 financial coast will eventually destroy football. When Wenger tried to impose a cap, everyone was laughing at him. It's just another way to launder money. People don't see the bigger picture. Mick 96, I agree with you, mate. There comes a time where you can reach the limits even when we're talking about like taxation, you're talking about like a housing market, taxation, football clubs. There comes a point where the sustainability can only go so far, and it takes one push, and everything will collapse. You make a good point. You look at now the Madrids, the Barcelonas. They don't go and spend £200 million on players because they can't. They wait until these players become free, and then they get them on the free. And yes, they have to give them the wages, but significantly less than paying for these players. So there's only so much money in this world, and you're right. Eventually, football will come to a point where it can no longer sustain the way that we are. Yeah. Is this real or myth? Joe, I think it's real. I think it's real. Whether or not they're going to meet them today, I think something is going to happen today. But it's the question here is, what is this about? I think you can follow the breadcrumb trails as to there are. I think there are equal parts to this in terms of investment and sell. If you look at the accounts, and if you look at projections, and you look at historically, and you look at the money in this club, I don't see how we survive. I don't see how we survive being a big club and not, because we're giving Maguire a new contract. Luke Shaw is still here. Fernandes is now talk that Fernandes may not go. It's going to be horrific. So, or it's investment. So I think there is something going to happen here. I've said this. I think I'm prepared for this. I'm prepared for a Glazer partnership with UAE and INEOS. I think that would be probably the worst thing. Beefcake says Glazer in. English culture is already on decline. It is, but not for now. I think Murray's by the sounds of it. Superbat says, look at what Saudi did with Newcastle in 4 years. Just imagine what they could do with the debt cleared and popularity of the club. I agree with you. Jet says, I miss simpler times of football. 98, 2006 were the greatest. Mate, I'd even go back. I go back to the 80s. I remember when football 1990, when the Premier League first began as well, those early years of the Premier League were phenomenal. I remember it like it was was like the start of it, mate. I saw the birth of the Premier League. I remember when football was free. Just football now is not recognisable. Even says, bring it on. I think we've had enough as fans. I've not watched us play since Amrin's been here. It's not even about support. It's painful. Ivan, look, mate, I think it is. I don't blame you. I mean, I feel sorry for the match-going fans who go like home and away. I mean, I've watched many games, and if you watch my streams on here, it's painful. It's so painful to watch, and I do not blame you at all. We are not a fan. We're not a big club. Oh, Murray. It's fair to say Arsenal are a bigger club now out of us and them. Beefcake, no. Don't confuse being successful, and I'm going to apologise. I think if Benja won't be on here now, but I'm going to apologise to Benja. I think Benja's an Arsenal fan, and I'm going to apologise to Arsenal fans what I'm about to say. It's not because I'm trying to be rude, but I just need to go back to Beefcake, and again, don't be confused by size of club and success. Okay, Arsenal are not even successful. Like, I'm sorry, Arsenal never won the Champions League. They haven't won a league in 23 years. So Arsenal are, not only are we bigger, if you look at the value, okay, so depending on what people see and think, and this is not me, I hope Arsenal win the league this year. I am because I know that we can't win it, just from a purely selfish perspective, Liverpool, respect the club. City, I don't want them to win it again. So out of pure respect for Liverpool, because, out of respect for them for being so good, I want Arsenal to win the league. But to say Arsenal are bigger than us, if you look at Forbes, Arsenal are not even in our stratosphere, right? We are the second biggest valued club at £5.2 billion. Liverpool are I think they're 5.2 or something like that. Sorry, they're 4.7 or 4.2. Well, I know that there's £1 billion in it. So we're £1 billion bigger than them as well. Arsenal is not even close. Our fan base is bigger. We've won more than Arsenal. Don't be confused. Look, Arsenal are finishing second and third. They're not winning things. So whilst I would say that Arsenal are at the moment, I wouldn't even call them more successful. Arsenal are a better club right now. Arsenal are more in shape, and they are a well-run club. They're not bigger than us, mate. And it's not a dig, and it's not to say I don't want them to do well, and it's not to say that I don't think that they can win the league. Beefcake, they are nowhere near us, mate. Sports being, I'll get into that. What if they win the Premier League? Beefcake, it doesn't matter. I just feel like they have way more fans. Beefcake, mate. Beefcake, no, my friend. We've got over 1 billion fans. I think Madrid might be slightly ahead still, but we have way more fans. We are bigger than Arsenal. We're so much bigger, mate. Selling to the biggest money spender is just a falsie. What would not help United? That's what got European clubs into this mess in the first place. All I'm going to say to that is, if you look at City, look, I'm not supporting anything in terms of, I just want this debt gone. I want somebody to come in. If we could get somebody in, if we could get an owner in who clear the debt and all they care about is the success of this club. I don't need billions and billions and billions of pounds for me, right? We need to be competitive. If we can be competitive and do it the right way, I'm all about that. But we know that that's not going to happen. So the next best thing for me is, sadly, I want this club to be back where it should be. Ultimately, if we sell our soul, is it going to come back and bite us? And the big 96, you could be right, my friend. City's worth more than Arsenal, exactly. It's just down to buying the club to secure future income to replace declining sales of oil and other fossil fuels. Then fair enough, I totally back the buy as intentions will be good. Look, as long as somebody comes in and their intentions are winning intentions to get this club back to the top, I'm all for it. Tell me one other big club who went the whole season without winning 2 league games in a row. Murray, it doesn't matter, mate. I couldn't care less. Murray, we didn't win 2 games in a row, but guess what? We made record money and we weren't even in the Champions League. So fun, yeah. Liam Mills, legend. So I am going to go. I'm going to go back to work now. But yeah, so keep an eye on this, guys. Keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on it. So if anything does break, I will be back on in a bit. So I'm going to be keeping an eye out for that 1 o'clock and see where we are. Scott, love it, my friend. So guys, I will be back in a bit. Thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Feel free to comment on video. Let me know if you hear anything at all. I do agree, bending like Beckham is a very underrated. There, all the best from an Arsenal fan. And again, as I've said before, right, no disrespect to any fan on here from a different club. I rate Arsenal. I hope Arsenal can finally break their duck and win a league this year. So I genuinely hope that. So guys, I will be back. Thank you, my friend. I will be back this evening. I may even be back before. If anything does break, I will give you an update on that. all I'm going to say is be careful of false reports. We come on, we talk about it, we talk about it from every angle to give you an overview, and this is what we do. So thank you guys for watching the Legends. You're all fantastic, and I'll see you very, very soon. So take care, and I'll see you on the next one. See you soon.